right, welcome to the Beach Brothers Show. We all live in Virginia Beach. We love Virginia Beach business and politics. I'm Seko Varner, your serial entrepreneur, your credit repair specialist. And next to me is this guy who's running for the Virginia Beach City Council, who's also one of the members of the Beach Brothers Show. So we're a non-partisan talk show. And today we have some really interesting things, All right, what's new in Virginia politics, Conrad?
What is new? Well, in the past week, I got to observe a Virginia Beach Republican breakfast at Old Beach Tavern, and that's on Virginia Beach Boulevard. Nice place, and it was well attended too. It's always on Saturday mornings. There was a march at the Municipal Center just yesterday, rather modest size. Calls were, among other things, to defund the police and address some systemic issues with the area. I also worked over 55 hours at the hotel, and it's real busy at the oceanfront. It doesn't really feel like there is COVID or that we're even in phase 2, because so many calls are happening at the hotel and so much foot traffic is happening at the Virginia Beach oceanfront in total. Also today, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam was in Virginia Beach today, touring the coastal Virginia offshore wind pilot project and signed legislation on renewable energy. And on a note of community concern, there's a prevalence of gun violence that we might notice here in June in Virginia Beach. And much of it is at the oceanfront toward the nighttime. Some have been in the Green Run area, and there was even a fatal shooting near my old Sangaree Circle stomping grounds on Pleasant Valley Road. There's been a lot of late night fireworks as well, but I'm more concerned with the gun violence. And I know I'm running for Rose Hall's seat on Virginia Beach City Council. I know there are many important things that I would like to help fix, like flooding and public transit and development in relation to public demand and taxes. But I also want to see gun violence reduced, and it's as simple as that. And on that note, if you have similar desires of city government, look me up, Conrad Schesventer for Virginia Beach's Facebook page. And if you want to help my campaign, drop by www.raisethemoney.com/cschesventer and leave a modest donation for the effort.
All right, good stuff. This stuff that's happening in Virginia Beach is kind of disheartening. I really have to say that you mentioned that there was some firing, some shootings, some things of that nature that's happening. So I want to bring in some good news. All right, one of the good news is one of our sponsors tonight is Tally and Twine watches. I'm wearing one of their Tally and Twine watches. This is my favorite watch. I'm a watch guy. And if you're a watch guy or you're a watch gal or you're a watch person, to be inclusive, they have men's watches. They have women's watches. Pick your poison. These watches are excellent. And they're made here in Virginia. Tally and Twine is located in Portsmouth, Virginia. So you can check out some of their things on tallyandtwine.com. Yeah, love their stuff. So glad that the wifey bought me one of their watches. It's definitely one of my favorites. So who do we have on the show tonight, Conrad?
First, let me unmute myself. And yes, I'm a member of the Virginia Beach Democrats. And as co-host of this wonderful political and business show, you can tell by our guest history, we do not shy away from giving Republican guests a voice here and a fair shot. And our guest tonight is Mr. Jimmy Frost. He's a Cox Falcon, and Jimmy has a long Virginia Beach history and is a notable figure. He spent over 18 years as a long-haul trucker. He's been a part of the figurative circulatory system of the American economy. He works from time to time at a Virginia Beach Lowe's, and since November 2008, he's been a member of the Virginia Beach Republican Party. He was a significant voice in the public advocacy against Virginia Beach Light Rail in 2015 and 2016. He's been the owner of I-264 Web Design since 2008 as well, and that's reachable at 757-343-6768. From there, he provides the 757 with web design, quality photography, graphic design, and political strategy. And my first question for Mr. Jimmy circles around his Republican Party of Virginia Beach history. What have you seen in the past decade plus that makes you want to run for chairman of the party itself?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, Conrad. When I first joined the party, our party was a juggernaut. We didn't lose elections. It was just not heard of. We were very comfortable, and I think we got too comfortable. And over the past 4 or 5 years, our party has taken a sharp turn towards lethargy. We don't advocate for anything on the local scene that align with our Republican values. We don't support any local candidates for local office. Our party leadership is maniacally clinging to this idea that we don't get involved in local races. And I will tell you that the biggest opponent to this has been the outgoing RPVB chairperson. And now that she is finishing her term, she is not running for another term. That is when I decided to step up and try to take the party in another direction.
All right. So Tina stepped down and you decided to step up. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's like I said, a chairman runs for a 2-year term, and nobody ran against her for her last term that started. So she was declared chairman by acclamation. And again, nothing has changed. The membership has gotten smaller. Our finances have gotten smaller, and we've handed over more seats to our opponents in the Democratic Party. So yeah, we definitely need a change of direction.
Okay. Well, you just mentioned earlier that at the very beginning, when you joined the party, there were a lot of wins, and now there aren't as many wins. So should the Republican Party message shift from complacency to competition more? What do you think? What should the message change?
I don't know. I don't think that our message should change. I don't think that our message of fiscal conservatism and equal rights for all and personal responsibility should shift. I think those are good messages. What I think needs to change is the strategy. Right now in local races, we have taken a hands-off approach to everything. And as a result, we've given over control of the school board. We used to have an unimpeachable majority on school board. We used to have a clear majority on city council. And I think the only elected, really truly Democratic elected official in Virginia Beach was Phil Kellum. Well, that's changing. So I think that what we need to do is we need to become a more activist party. We have missed so many opportunities to put our name out there, to put our brand out there, and to say what we stand for, and to actually stand up for Republican-minded voters in Virginia Beach. And right now, we're just not doing that.
I would say that the greater Republican message, as you may have touched on, hinges on freedom and a relatively smaller government than Democrats typically call for. And as an overall strategy, the local GOP might unofficially call for a keep it small, keep it all goal. And what are they doing by that?
The strategy of keep it all small and keep it all. And by the way, Mike Adler, he's deciding to troll us tonight. His real name is Mike Arlinsky. He's the membership chairman of the party, and he's just out there trolling. So hi, Mike, how you doing? Keep it small and keep it all is currently the strategy that the current management of the party seems to be using. I won't use the word leadership because they're not leading us anywhere. It is that the smaller you keep the party, the more you can keep control of it. And the more you can keep control of it, the more you can fashion things to your own comfort, which in this case would be some of our elected officials. They like the idea that we don't have an activist party. They like the idea that we don't take them to task when they vote in a way in the state legislature that we might not think aligns with our Republican values. And so I think we need to start engaging with our elected officials more. I think we need to start showing up at city council a little bit more. I think we need to start showing up at school board a little bit more. And we need to give the people of Virginia Beach who agree with our party a reason to say, hey, I want to be a part of that group. I want to do the things that they're doing. Because right now, yes, even though our bylaws say that we don't endorse in local races, that goes back years and it is archaic, it is out of date, and it needs to change.
Well, I hear for you on that, the change. Let's see what you can do with that. And today, it was another long day at the oceanfront, and luckily I drove home blasting my AC and my Jetta. And I got that Jetta at Chesapeake Southern Volkswagen, 1248 South Military Highway. Used the new Volkswagens are there, so head on over, speak to Charlie Roy or Cynthia Rollins, and mention that you heard about the place on the beach, brothers, and they'll treat you like a boss. Speaking of bosses, Jimmy, city party leaders have sort of been negatively looked at, and some notoriously, like Enoch Johnson and Boss Tweed of many, many, many years ago. What positive spin and imagery would you like your Virginia Beach Republican chairmanship to have going forward in the years ahead?
One of the things that's been brought up in our race is reaching out to the African American community. And I will tell you that I believe the African American community, a lot of folks have been brought up to believe that anything associated with the Republican Party works against their interest. And I would also tell you that the African American community is absolutely tired of hearing words. They want to see deeds, and I think they deserve to see deeds. We had spent an incredible amount of money on Kellum High School. I mean, people were looking at the cost of that school and going, what are you thinking? I would like to know, are they going to spend the same amount of money when they replace Bayside High School? Because it's coming due for replacement. It was built roughly at the same time that the old Kellum High School was. And these are the kinds of debates that we need to be having in our city. And not only does it speak towards racial justice, it speaks towards fairness and what our priorities are as a society. As Republicans, I don't think we should stand idly by and be silent if they're only going to spend half as much money on Bayside High School as they did Kellum. Now, I don't like the fact that they spent so much money on Kellum High School, but you can't do for one and not the other and call yourself fair. These are the kinds of things that I think and the African American community need to see us doing. And if they like what they see, maybe they'll come over and join us, because I think that on the family basis, on personal values, I think our values are more in line than not.
Interesting that you say that. You know, of course, I'm a person of African descent, African American works, Black works. I take it all. I used to visit the breakfasts and the meetings with the Republican Party when I was running back in 2018, and I spent a lot of time in 2019 with the party. I truly enjoyed my time with it. One interesting thing about the so-called Black community is we were primarily Republican up until the voting rights time period. And at the voting rights time period, you know, Dr. King was able to leverage our vote to make sure that we ended up getting some of the rights that we've been awarded. So it might be a really interesting time. Well, your political career now is largely on image. So you're a strategist for candidates. You design themes and sites. Do you think that Virginia Beach Republican Party essentially needs to be rebranded? What do you think?
What I think, I mean, as far as marketing branding goes, it would not hurt. It never hurts to have a new image, a new look. But I also think that, again, with that rebranding, we need to take a more activist role, as I said before. We missed an incredible opportunity back in 2016 to take a side on the light rail campaign. One way or the other, however the membership wanted to vote, that would have been what the membership wanted. I personally believe the membership would have fallen out against it, but we never took that vote. And I also think that we, again, missed an incredible opportunity to take a stand in defending the Second Amendment last winter. We had a resolution that didn't even make it out of the resolutions committee because it was killed in committee. They didn't give the member who submitted it an opportunity to amend it or edit it. They just said, well, we're not giving it to the members, so the party never got to vote on it. And these are the things that we need to be speaking out on. If there is something that happens locally, we need to speak out on it. If there's an issue coming up before the voters, we need to speak out on it. Right now, we can't even get our party to endorse constitutional amendments because of the recalcitrance of party leadership. They don't want the party to take a stand for anything, especially where it relates to Virginia Beach. And I would say to them, if that's their attitude, why do we even have the name Virginia Beach in the name of our party? Because nothing we're doing is about Virginia Beach.
Interesting. Interesting. Hey, we have a lot of great comments and questions that are coming in the chat box. We're going to get to a lot of those questions, Jimmy. We'll get to some of those questions in just a few minutes. Interesting. Well, I know, when I ran, getting endorsements was challenging, but you've had a number of endorsements. Former Virginia Beach Treasurer John Atkinson was one of the foremost anti-light rail advocates. You worked with him on that project. He endorses you for party chairman. You spoke at the city council to preserve gun rights from possible city regulations, and prominent local attorney Tim Anderson did as well. He also endorses you as chairman. You have notable endorsements to go with that, like VB Councilman John Moss and former Congressman Scott Ridgell. So what do those endorsements and others mean to you? And what do you think they can do for the party? So let's ask the question, who's endorsed you and how important are those endorsements to the party and into the movement of the party?
I will tell you that endorsements rarely ever make the race, okay? They're a great thing to have. It's very flattering when a public official of the caliber of a Scott Ridgell or a John Moss or a John Atkinson will tell the public and the whole world, yes, this is the candidate that I endorse for this office. Maybe it's going to swing some weight on election day. Maybe it won't. But I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That's always been my point of view on endorsements. But what those endorsements tell me is you have men from all over the political spectrum. You have them from John Moss, who's a very fiscally conservative Republican, to Scott Ridgell, to John Atkinson, who served most of my life as the treasurer. I mean, it was so weird when I had to write a check to the treasurer and I wasn't writing John's name. That is an incredible feeling to have these guys endorse me as the candidate they feel is the best one suited to serve in this position.
Interesting. We've had a couple of viewer questions. Let me go through a couple of the viewer questions. Your friend Mike Adler says that you might be ignoring the great work of the RPVB leadership in opening doors to the African American community, the Hispanic community, and the Filipino community. Any thoughts on Mike's statement?
Well, I would tell Mike that the Filipino community we've been working with for a long time. We also had Hispanic outreach during the last chairman's tenure. So I would say that there hasn't been a whole lot of great work done there, especially since we've been getting our butts handed to us in election after election after election. If what we're doing is so great, why is our membership down 30%? Why are people not coming to the meetings? Why are people not giving money? Why is their website such a wreck? You can't get hardly any useful information on it. This is because the people currently running the party, including you, Mr. Adler, don't know how to market to the people. I mean, it's great to sit back and tell people what they should do, but you're dealing with an organization of volunteers. You don't tell, you need to ask. And as soon as you start berating them or browbeating them or talking down to them, they're out the door. And that's why one of the reasons why our party is so much smaller.
What are your thoughts on the party's 2nd District nominee, Scott Taylor? Are you supporting? Are you against? That's another question from dear Mike Adler. This is good. Yo, keep them coming. If you have any questions or any comments, put them in the chat. This is good. This is good stuff.
You know, Scott Taylor is the nominee of our party. So as soon as I stop by headquarters, I will get a sign for Scott Taylor. I will put it in my yard and I will vote for him on election day. It's, that's the way the party ball bounces when you play it. If you have to go with the nominee on election day, and that's just the way it is. But I would ask Mr. Adler or Mr. Arlinsky, why doesn't your boss, Chairman Mapes, tell the party what her involvement was in the Scott Taylor petition mess? I mean, she's listed in the paper as having been involved, and she has never, ever spoken to the membership to explain what her role in it was. And I think we're owed that explanation.
Interesting. I want to salute Virginia Wassenberg. She's a good friend of the show, supporter of me when I ran. she mentioned that, and she shared this with me in person and private as well, that she received a lot of flack because even though I was an independent, I ran with the Democratic Party, but everybody knows I'm an independent, that she was kind of called out. So I know that the Republican Party of Virginia Beach is set up to, to wholly make sure that more Republicans get on the seat. Is there any room to support people who might be independent, who have some values that are aligned with the party?
Part of the proposal that I've put forth is to allow our membership to decide who we want to endorse for local office. Now, under Virginia law, our local elections are nonpartisan, and we'd have to literally change the law in the city charter to amend that. Okay, that's fine. The fact is, what I would like to have is a process by which any candidate who sought our endorsement could come before the party and make their case and let the party members decide. And that's the crux of the whole problem. Current party management does not want to give that power to the membership. And I think that's where that power belongs, in the hands of the membership. And if you say have two Republicans who are running for the same seat, then we come down to those two, and whoever gets the most votes wins, be it a simple majority or a supermajority. You can then go to the person who lost and say, okay, here's your opportunity. You can drop out of the race and support the guy who just beat you, or you can run on your own without party support. There are many ways we can do this, but our party has simply been too afraid to even try it. They don't want to consider it, and they won't look at everything that's happened. They won't look at the elections that we're losing. They won't look at the majorities we're losing and say, hey, we need to do something different.
Interesting. Virginia brings up something that I spoke to Conrad about a little earlier today. So any Virginia Beach registered voter can vote on the day when you're seeking election for, I guess, between you and Bill Curtis. So
right.
Every person in Virginia Beach who's a registered voter, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, and Republicans alike, can all vote on that day. Have you reached out to some of the other people who may not be in the party to encourage them to be a part of this process?
My Facebook page is reaching thousands of people, literally thousands. I looked at the metrics last night, and I have been stunned at the numbers we're getting. According to state party bylaws, our call was issued, and it is open to all Virginia Beach voters. As you know, in Virginia, we don't register by party affiliation. So yes, you can come and vote in the Republican Party mass meeting. Now, the hook is during the credentials process where you check in, your opponent or your campaign can challenge a voter who comes forward and say, I don't believe that you're in line with our Republican creed. Say if Conrad came, Conrad, you're on the Democratic ballot. Either my campaign or my opponent's campaign can challenge you and say, okay, you have to sign a loyalty pledge. And that's in the bylaws that you can do that. And you either sign it or you don't vote.
Interesting. Rebecca Lee Bragg states, keeping everything in the party only gets us so far. How are we going to bridge and encourage diversity and inclusion within our party? Do you want to respond to Rebecca? I think that's an interesting point and
Absolutely.
Question. Thank you, Rebecca.
Absolutely. Rebecca, I would simply say to you that we have members who religiously go to the Republican Party Virginia Beach meeting every month, and they all leave saying the same thing. We don't do anything. We don't accomplish anything. And I think if members of the community actually saw us out there standing up and fighting for them, fighting for a cause, fighting for lower taxes, fighting for better schools, fighting for safer streets, or more economic opportunity in minority communities, I think that would give people a reason to consider coming over and checking out the Republican Party. But again, I said people are tired of words. They get enough of that on television. They want to see deeds.
Interesting. Bro Khan, take it from here.
This upcoming question is a bit convoluted. I'll work my way there, and I realize that part of it has been touched on before, but it's worth it to come back. And I'm making my trek here in Virginia Beach, trying to become a good representative of the Virginia Beach Democrat Party and running for Virginia Beach City Council because there's things I want to do on council. And I'll note I've attended many party meetings of both parties over the past 2 years. It's the Republican Party that often reminds itself that it needs to cultivate more membership from minorities. And I know such importance is known by you, but we at the Beach Brothers want to know if your plan to do so will extend just beyond an election season, and in how many years hence?
My term will only be a year and a half because of the COVID-19, okay? And I will tell you right now that I am open to have discussions with any group, subgroup, any demographic, male, female, straight, gay, Latino, black, it does not matter, because I think a lot of the values that we share are the same. You know, Bob Perkey called it 7 or 8 years ago, that we are the party of family. But as we're conservatives and we're a little tend to cling to our conservative past, we have a difficult time understanding that the dynamic and definition of the family is evolving, okay? And I would say to anybody, especially on the issue of gay marriage, which really has caused a huge dust up in our society, that the Supreme Court has already ruled on this subject. In my mind, the matter is closed, okay? And I would, as membership chair, we are currently recruiting African Americans, Latinos, and Mike, you're not doing a very good job, brother. And that's because you're wasting your time trolling this show instead of going out talking to people. Learn the difference. This is part of the problem. We have party leadership who is engaged in playing political games to try and keep control and to try and just have their iron fist over the party when they're not doing the job. Mike, buddy, I hate to tell you, this is why you've been such a failure as the membership chairman. This is why we've lost a third of our membership. Learn from this.
This is good. This is good. This is good. This is good. Okay. Wow. Okay. Interesting question. Interesting responses. I love what's happening in the chat. So once again, if you're watching, if you have a question, if you have a comment, leave it in the chat. If it's appropriate, we'll add into the conversation. We want to make sure that all the great questions are asked tonight. And hey, yes, we will have Bill on here soon. We will have Bill Curtis on here very soon. Merle asked, do you think the riots were handled? I'm going to say were handled in the right manner with local CAs, or only do you think it encouraged more? What are your thoughts on the riots?
I got to tell you, we all saw the video of George Floyd. What a horrible way to die. I don't think he should have died that way. There's no question about that in my mind. And I think these riots are simply an expression of a lot of rage that people have been feeling for over the years. And I think that's because a lot of these folks haven't been engaged on a consistent basis. There was a video by an outfit called the Rebel Pundit, where they talked about the Democrats would only come into their neighborhoods during election time. And when we don't have hope, when we don't have jobs, when we don't have the vital resources they need, the man turned around and pointed to the Cook County Jail and said, a lot of us end up here. And that's absolutely true. Now, as far as were the riots held or were the riots handled correctly, I can't make that judgment. I'm not a law enforcement official. I wasn't on the ground. I can't make that call. I remember what happened in July of 1976 during the Peppermint Beach Club. I think it was Nate Custer was getting an interview from a state police captain who was as old Virginia as they come. And he said to Nate Custer, when my men arrive, this will stop. And when the state police arrived, the riot was shut down. I was at the beach during Greek Fest, of 1989. And I can tell you unequivocally, that year, both sides came looking for a fight. The city was looking for a fight, and so were the people who were coming. And that's what they ended up with. And that's why I'm so glad that something in the water went off as well as it did, because I think that showed that, yeah, we can have these kinds of events and not have the kind of trouble that people are afraid of.
You know, I was there during Greek Fest in 89. You said 89, was it 90?
Well, it was
91.
It was like 87 to 89.
You're right. Yeah, it was the Fight the Power summer. And I tell you what, while I was there, everything was, you know, there was an energy, because a lot of us were saying some things are happening in our country that need to change. But when the guard showed up, it really just changed the tone of the environment. So this is a discussion for a different question. I mean, this is a we'll go on to that. I had some really horrible experiences with officers, and so my experience may taint the way I look at some things. So let me move on. So your goals as chairman are unique in that they encourage members themselves to be vocal and more involved in the community. So the party leadership is to be vocal on many issues. So what would you encourage as a party chairman for your members to become more involved in? What would you like to encourage as a party chairman for the voice of the local party and the local members?
One of the things that I put forth, matter of fact, I just pushed it out last night, was that, you know, for the young people that we have in our party, they are going to have, they're going to have opportunities in their lives that we're never going to have. I think that if we want to get them involved in government, because remember, this is a subject that kids usually shy away from, we need to cultivate that. And the way we do it is, say there's an issue coming up on a city budget or something to come on with zoning. I would tell you that we should give these kids 3 talking points or 2 talking points, have them write up a speech and go down and give it to the city council on behalf of the Republican Party. This will give them speech writing experience. This will give them public speaking experience. And hey, by the way, all these young kids love social media, and they're going to tell their friends to come and watch me on Facebook or on Twitter, and they're going to tell their parents, and their parents are going to tell their brothers and sisters and grandmas and grandpas to come watch Jennifer. She's going to speak in front of city council. And there you have it, our conservative message given to people we don't yet know by someone they know and trust. I think that's a good way to approach it. And I think it's also a good way to get our concerns in front of city council. So I don't want people walking around the city of Virginia Beach going, hey, where's the Republican Party? Do they even exist? A lot of people still ask that question, and they have reason to.
Seko, I think you muted yourself.
Okay, well, you see the question on the screen, Jimmy. How will you help stave off HB 421, the Dillon law?
The only way that I can do it is to help elect more Republicans to the state legislature. Remember, all these laws that go into effect in just a few days are the result of our losing the election. We lost a bunch of seats. The Democrats got the majority, and it's really funny. When the Democrats are out of power, they act like they're never going to be in power again. When they finally get back into power, they act like they're never going to be out of power again. So these things are cyclical. They come and they go. And I think that once we recapture a Republican majority, then we're going to have to start pushing back against some of these draconian laws that they passed.
Interesting. Brother Khan, you want to take over from here, my friend?
The Beach Brothers show sort of prides itself as a show of both Virginia politics, like us talking tonight, and Virginia business. The Virginia Beach Republican Party, do you think it has a good relationship with leaders in Virginia Beach business? Should it grow? And if you could shout out maybe some Virginia Beach businesses that already have a good relationship with yourself and the party.
there's the McCluskey Group. They're a property management development firm. They're just a block away from us on Virginia Beach Boulevard. Cheryl McCluskey has done an amazing job of growing the company and really turning their properties into more upscale properties since she's been running the McCluskey Group. And oh, by the way, she's also a cancer survivor and had to undergo chemotherapy while she was doing all that. What an amazing woman. And then just a block up the street from her, you have Tom at Arcade Chevrolet. They do an amazing job of, selling people cars. They've been there as long as I've been around. Those guys are really top flight Chevy salesmen. And of course, next door at Beach Ford, they're an institution. They have been around here ever since I was a little kid. And I remember as a kid going there with my dad and getting parts for customers' cars or towing cars to their shop for warranty work. So there are a lot of long-term businesses here in Virginia Beach, like Aldridge and Chambers up at London Bridge Shopping Center. They have got outdoor equipment for commercial and residential applications. They have a full line of steel commercial products. Of course, right next door, I work at Lowe's. We've got a great selection, everything you need for the homeowner. So we do have a great history of solid businesses right here in Virginia Beach. And what I think the Republican Party needs to do is start cultivating some of them businesses, sitting down with them and saying, look, what can we do to make our city a more business-friendly environment? Although the current mayor and city council seem to be doing a pretty good job of that. Although I don't know how this Dahlia thing is going to pan out, because people are not really happy that they're going to try and build a bunch of apartments down there where they're simply not wanted. So these are the things that the party needs to get involved in here locally. These are the things we need to examine what is being proposed. We need to talk to the people involved and ask our members, what do you think about this? I mean, anytime we have a membership meeting or a meeting of the membership, we have sometimes as many as 100 different people, and all of them have got their little BS detectors running. Run it past them. Let the wisdom of the crowd steer the direction of the party. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Okay. I have a question that popped up a little earlier, and Mike wanted to know, in your strategic work, you do a lot of strategic work for some of the other candidates. Will you also continue to work with candidates that are not part of the party if you become the chairman? Actually,
I love the way Mike keeps running around waving a 7-year-old VPAP report like he's got the smoking gun. Mike, you've got a cap gun, buddy. There's a big difference. I built a website for Bill Dale. Bill Dale is a personal friend of mine. And yes, he was running against Scott Taylor in, I think it was the 85th district. Right now, I don't have time to do any kind of websites for anyone, like from conception all the way to delivery. And as the chairman, I can't be working for any campaigns. I would simply tell you that I've been on more winning campaigns, and the party leadership, as represented by Mr. Adler, has certainly helped more Democrats win than I ever could. So no, I'm not going to be working professionally in politics during my tenure as chairman.
Ooh, interesting. Ooh, I didn't mean to show that one. I like Virginia's question. I think you did touch on it already, but I thought I'd give you a second chance at it. Can you explain why? Go ahead.
Virginia, here's the thing. If the local party is endorsing candidates in a local race, it means that the elected leaders of that party cannot play both sides of the fence. And if you dig down into the VPAP reports, you will see where sometimes you have one candidate who supports this guy who leans more Democratic, and this candidate who supports that girl who might lean more Republican. So you see a lot of fence hopping on the local issue. And they all throw up, well, it's a nonpartisan race. Well, the Democrats have just made it a partisan race by publishing their slate of candidates. And right now, we're behind the curve on that. And this is where we need to signal to our Republican voters, these are the candidates that we are supporting. These are the ones that we think best reflect our values. And I would also simply tell you that we've worked campaigns where we've had 2 or as many as 3 separate Republicans running for the same seat. And that divides the Republican vote. And the volunteer who's from the party working the polls can't really take a side and tell you which one is the best candidate, because they're supposed to remain neutral since they're all members of the party. I think if our party would go ahead, bite the bullet, endorse candidates, we're going to have to amend the bylaws, and it can be easily done. There's nothing to be afraid of there. And we can say, this is, we feel, the best candidate, and see if we can help them on election day.
As we near the end of the show, I sort of want to take a minute to, I realize that on July 6th, I think you and Mr. Curtis have a little debate, if you will, at a local group. And on July 13th, of course, is the mass meeting where finally everyone will get to vote for you. Can you break those two down for us?
The event on the 6th is still tentative, last I heard. It is the Nemo Republican Women's Club. That is going to be held at the Virginia Beach National Golf Course off Prince Santa Road. I think the starting time is 6 o'clock. And there's a small fee for dinner if you're a member versus a non-member. I think they're trying to get Scott Taylor, and they're trying to get Daniel Gade there as well. I don't know if Mr. Curtis has responded yet. I hope he does. I would really like a chance to debate him again. The mass meeting is going to be held on July 13th at the Law Enforcement Training Academy. It is going to be open to the public, and it is open to all Virginia Beach voters. Please bring your voter ID or a photo ID. I understand that after July 1st, the law changes, but remember, this is a party event, okay? So the party can set the rules, and if you bring your ID or your voter ID or a photo ID of any kind, you should be okay to vote.
Conrad, take us out, brother.
Well, I'm really appreciative, Mr. Jimmy, that we've been able to have you on tonight. I can't wait to at least observe this upcoming July 13th mass meeting. I don't think I'll be able to vote, and the reason why is that I am a Democrat, so I don't want to have any sort of conflicts of interest there. But I will watch, and I'm really, really appreciative for you coming on tonight, and hopefully we can have you on many, many times in the future.
Thank you, Conrad. I appreciated the opportunity. And good night, Mr. Adler, wherever you are.
Incredible. Hey, you've been enjoying the Beach Brothers show. I'm Seko Varner, your serial entrepreneur, your empowerment educator. I'm here with a gentleman who's running for city council, Conrad. So, brother Conrad, for Rose Hall. Now, my area, Virginia Beach, Rose Hall District. Rose Hall, I would say, take a very good look at Conrad, Republican, Democrat, or Independent. Take a good look at him. He has some interesting. I tell you what, you really infuriate people on both sides of the fence.
So I'm the straw that stirs the drink.
You're the straw that stirs the drink. Interesting. Conrad for Virginia Beach City Council, Rose Hall District. Hey, if you're a voter in Virginia Beach, no matter what your persuasion is, I would suggest that you come out on that date. What's the date again that they're doing the election for the chairman, the chairperson?
July 13th at the, I think that's 411 Integrity Way at the Virginia Beach Law Enforcement Training Center. Right,
at the leader. Yeah, so on that date, show up. Whatever your brand is, show up and vote. You have an opportunity to help. You can be strategic about it. I vote for empowerment. So, if you're a Dem, then you might vote for the person you think is the most less effective. If you're a Republican, you can vote for the person who's most effective. And if you're independent, you might just enjoy yourself. But everybody should come out, and Bill Curtis is on the ticket. Jimmy Frost, who was just with us, is on the ticket. Interesting ticket. Very interesting ticket. So Conrad won't be voting. I will be. Come out and join me.
I'll be witnessing.
He'll be witnessing. Okay. The Beach Brothers will be in the house. If you love Virginia like we do, type into the chat V1. Type V1 into the chat. Type in V1, which is Virginia First, into the chat. Thank you for watching the Beach Brothers shows. We're over by 33 seconds. And we're out. Peace.